Most people think estate planning is just about deciding who gets what when you're gone. But for successful families, one wrong move can lead to legal battles and unnecessary taxes. Even your children losing their inheritance to a future divorce, lawsuits, or bad financial decisions. And unfortunately, I've seen it happen. My name is Chris McClure, and for the last 30 years, I've been helping successful families and business owners with their estate planning, tax planning, and wealth management. And today I want to share 5 of the biggest estate planning mistakes I see all the time, especially for families with significant assets. By watching this video, you will receive strategies to help you avoid these mistakes and make sure your wealth stays protected for generations. Let's start with not updating your estate plan after major life changes. Jim was a successful entrepreneur who built a large estate. He had an estate plan set up years ago when his kids were little. Then life happened. He divorced, he remarried, and he built significant wealth. When he unexpectedly passed from a heart attack, his old estate plan was still in place, unfortunately. Everything went to his ex-wife. His current wife and children got nothing because his documents hadn't been updated. And the fact is, this happens more often than you'd think. I've seen families fight for years in court because a will or trust wasn't updated to reflect a second marriage or new children. If you have a major life change, marriage, divorce, new grandchildren, selling a business, or even a big financial shift, your estate plan needs to reflect it. A good rule of thumb, review it every 3 to 5 years and update it whenever a major life event happens. Another huge mistake I see is leaving assets outright to children. A lot of parents just assume, I trust my kids, they'll be responsible, and maybe they will be. Well, what happens if they get divorced or they get sued? Let's say your daughter inherits $5 million outright. If she gets divorced years later, half of that money could end up with her ex-spouse. If she gets sued, her entire inheritance could be exposed to creditors, to lawyers, and to lawsuits. A smarter approach is a bloodline trust. Now, a bloodline trust doesn't actually exist. It's just language that I use to describe words that need to be in your living trust. A bloodline trust is a type of trust that allows your children to use and control their inheritance, while keeping it legally protected from divorces, from lawsuits, and from poor financial decisions. One client of mine set up a bloodline trust for each of his children. It ensured that the wealth that he created stayed within his family for generations. It protected it from outside threats. The fact is, if you've spent decades building your wealth, you don't want it lost to someone else's mistakes. And a properly structured trust makes sure that doesn't happen. Another major mistake is assuming a will is enough. A lot of people think, I have a will, that's all I need. No big deal, right? But a will alone does not avoid probate. Probate's a court process that can take 6 to 18 months. It could cost tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees, and it makes your entire financial life public record. So anyone could go down to the courthouse to find out exactly what you own. My client Susan had an $8 million estate and assumed her will would take care of everything. But when she passed, her family spent over 2 years in probate court fighting unnecessary battles and paying huge legal fees, all because she didn't have a properly structured trust. We talked to her about changing her will to a trust, but she just never got around to it. For most high net worth families, a revocable living trust is a far better option. A trust avoids probate. It ensures privacy and streamlines the transfer of wealth to your heirs without any delays. Another mistake people make is not having powers of attorney in place. What happens if you have a medical emergency and can't make financial or healthcare decisions for yourself? Without the right documents in place, your family could be locked out of bank accounts, unable to pay bills, and even forced into court to get permission to manage your financial life. I've seen families completely devastated by this mistake. That's why every estate plan should include powers of attorney for healthcare and powers of attorney for financials. It gives someone you trust the ability to step in if needed. This is especially critical for business owners. Imagine if you're hurt and you can't work and no one has the legal authority to make decisions on your behalf. Your company could grind to a halt overnight. And finally, the last massive mistake I see is failing to plan for estate taxes. The current estate tax exemption is over $13 million per person, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way, right? Tax laws change. And if the exemption drops down below $6 million per person, by the way it's been proposed, your family could suddenly owe millions in estate taxes. One of my clients had an $18 million estate, and if he had passed away without any tax planning, his heirs could have lost nearly $4 million to taxes. And by using a combination of gifting strategies, different types of trusts, and other estate planning techniques, we were able to drastically reduce that tax bill and preserve more of his wealth for his family. Now, this fellow was a business owner. And so by taking care of those taxes, we were able to make sure that that business stayed in his family. You see, the key is having a plan in place now, before it's too late. So let's recap the 5 biggest estate planning mistakes. Number 1 is not updating your estate plan after major life changes. Leaving assets outright to children instead of using a bloodline trust. Assuming a will is enough instead of using a living trust. Not having financial and healthcare powers of attorney in place. And lastly, is failing to plan for estate taxes, which can cost your family millions. If you've worked hard to build your wealth, don't let these mistakes undo everything you've created. The fact is, a little planning today makes your families protected, and it avoids unnecessary legal headaches. You know, if you'd like to chat about your situation, please click on the link below to schedule a half-hour call. And if you found this helpful, make sure you hit like and be sure to subscribe for more insights on protecting your wealth, avoiding costly mistakes, and making smart decisions in the future. I'll see you on the next one.